All right. Fantastic. Okay. Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, May the 18th, and I am Eric Wolf, and I serve as the Executive Director of the World Food Travel Association based in Portland, Oregon. And today we have two very special guests, one person from Greece who is going to be talking to us about something called the Greek breakfast. Her name is Magda, and she does a lot of interesting things. She works for a publication. She also works in destination marketing, and she'll be sharing with us her perspectives on the Greek breakfast and also some of the challenges that Greece has had recently with immigration and the economy. We're going to talk a little bit about that and get Magda's perspective on that. And then after Magda, we're going to meet Armando Cristofori. I apologize. Armando is a multicultural person and very well experienced, and he's a true food tourism aficionado. And he's going to be talking about a new research project that he's just launched that is has to do with the notion of global city regions and the preservation of food trails and food culture. So we'll talk with Andy later in the show today. So first, I would like to, here's our schedule so you can see what we're going to be doing here. And just to remind you, next month's show is on Wednesday, June the 22nd, and the show is at this exact same time, which is 10 a.m. U.S. Pacific time. So with that, I would like to invite Magda. Magda, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Hello to everyone. Hello from Greece.
Hi, and you're in Athens right now, is that right?
Yes, I'm in Athens.
Okay, nice. And it's evening time for you, I guess, right?
Yes, it's 8 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, have you had your dinner yet?
No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe it will be lunch and dinner at 1.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Magda is here to talk with us a little bit about something called the Mount Athos Area Cuisine, which is an initiative that is run by the Mount Athos Area Organization, which is a destination marketing organization. Magda, would you like to tell us a little bit about this Mount Athos Area Organization and what they do?
Yes, it's a destination marketing organization. It's publicly owned. I mean, it's a public initiative and public run organization, not a private one, but it's something quite unique that happens there. This organization is run by, let's say, part of the government, the local government, but also all locals support it. And the whole initiative is about how to promote the destination and to attract tourists from many different countries throughout the world.
Okay. And who works for this organization?
People, as I said before, the people who work in that are people from the government. They have marketeers, they have people who are educated, and they are, let's say, they have a clear relation to tourism in general, tourism management, but mostly marketeers. And also part of them as consultants are people who work in the tourism industry in the local area, like hoteliers, restaurateurs. So everyone participates with a role. Some people have organization role and other, let's say, they offer their opinion or their support.
Okay. And how many people work for that organization?
It's not a huge one. When we say organization, usually, our mind comes up with, a big organization. But in that case, because this initiative started from 2 or 3 people, and because of the need of the locals to become a destination, because initially they were not a destination, this is run mostly by 2 or 3 people.
Okay.
It's Maria Papa, who is the marketing director there, and the others are in managerial roles, and as I told you before, locals who contribute, they offer their contribution.
And what's your role with this organization?
My role is there, I promote and I'm trying, let's say, to help in their vision to expand the people who may be attracted to visit Mount Athos area gourmet only for food tourism.
Okay.
So one of the products they offer is food tourism, and they do a great job on that. I could say that they are pioneers in that.
Excellent. Now,
Great.
Magda, before we start talking about their food tourism and the Greek breakfast, I'd like to show people where Mount Athos is. I didn't know until you and I started talking, but okay, so here's the map of most of Greece, and here's Athens right here where you are, and then Thessaloniki, and then it's this finger, as you called it, right? Right here?
Feet. One of the feet.
Okay. So there's Athos, right? And it looks beautiful. I mean, the water looks stunning, and the architecture and the history, it just looks like a really special place.
It is actually, because it's the area around Aioros. People who deal with religious tourism, they are aware of what is this area. It's the place where monks live. And it's let's say a region, an independent region, because of this, religious condition status that they have. So the architecture, because you mentioned it, is influenced by this whole atmosphere. This place that we see here, the photo that we see, is the last village before the holy region starts.
Okay. And then I see here there's a fact from Wikipedia that this is a World Heritage Site as well.
Yes, that's true.
So
For
truly
me,
a special place.
Yes. And you need to have permission in order to visit it, the Aioros, but you can stay in this prefecture, Mount Athos area.
Okay. And we're on their website right now. It really does look stunning. There's a lot to do. And so right here, this is the Mount Athos area cuisine that we were talking about.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, that looks like a lovely dish. It'll be lunchtime soon here. Maybe we could make that today. All right. Well, let's get back to the Greek breakfast. This is something that I think is really fascinating. I experienced this when I was in Greece a couple years ago. I was speaking in Santorini, and there was a trade event there, and they talked a lot about the Greek breakfast. And then I experienced it at my hotel in Athens, and I thought, what a great idea. Why don't you tell us, Magda, what is the Greek breakfast?
The Greek breakfast is an initiative that started by the Greek Chamber of Hotels, and that they had a concept, or all started, let's say, with a thought. The initial thought was this: why tourists who visit Greece, and part of the tourism product is food, they should taste one of the same, like continental breakfast, American breakfast, and so on. So we said that we have local products. In each place of Greece, we have many different local tastes, traditional products that we could promote. And we create, great tastes and unique experiences for the tourists that they would have the opportunity to taste through breakfast. So this is something, the overall idea is to create a unique experience in each place that the tourist will visit through Greek breakfast.
Excellent. We're looking at their website right now, and here we have the Hellenic Chamber of Hotels, like you said, and I'm seeing some of the images, and these remind me of the breakfast buffet that I had in Athens. There were yogurts, cheeses, meats, olives. What else is served during the Greek breakfast?
It depends on the area that you are. Because the concept, the foundation of that concept was that we have to promote our traditional and local products in order to help as well the local community and the local economy. And also based on seasonality, we create different dishes. In any case though, the basic, let's say, ingredients that you may come across as a tourist are sesame, also cheese and different versions of cheese, honey, yogurt, fruits, dried and fresh, pies, different Greek pies like spanakopita, tiropita, cheese
Yes,
pie.
I remember, yes.
Olive oil, olives. What you see now was loukumas, like donuts.
Yes, yes.
With honey, halvas, that's halvas.
Yeah.
And these are the main ingredients that they usually use in many different combinations, though.
Okay. I think we should have broadcast this show from Greece, actually, over breakfast.
It could be a nice idea.
Now, how does this Greek breakfast then tie into what the Mount Athos area is doing? Because you said that each region in Greece has its own interpretation of this breakfast. So how is the Mount Athos area using this?
The Mount Athos area is moving a step further. I mean, some of their hotels or some of the hotels that belong to the specific area are using this, have applied this concept. And actually, the whole area of Chalkidiki has hotels that offer Greek breakfast. But also, Mount Athos area, as I told you, has moved one step further than that. And they have this initiative that we saw before, Mount Athos area Cuisina. And this cuisina is not only about breakfast. It has to do with local recipes 24/7. In a sense. And they invite people from all around the world. They invite also tour operators and many different stakeholders from the tourism industry. And they are trying to, combine local tradition with local tastes, but from an international aspect, in order people to get to meet, but also they train the tourists.
They train the tourists. How does that work?
Locals in the beach, they do like a festival and they teach. Actually, you can see, old ladies who teach traditional recipes to the tourists. And then it's like a whole celebration and people taste what they have already cooked before.
Okay, so I'm looking, because you were talking about they do it for the other meals too, and I'm just looking here.
This is the Greek breakfast.
Yeah, these are the different ones of the different regions.
Yes.
So would it be fair to say then in Mount Athos, because they do more than just breakfast, so you would have a similar kind of offer at lunch or dinner?
Yes, similar concepts, but it's mostly about, local recipes. You can see local recipes, and it's the whole experience then that you can see from where they are produced, like fish, fresh fish, and how you can cook it differently. And also what they did last year, one part of that, because it lasts for 3 or more months, this specific festival. They invited monks from the monastery that we were talking about before, and he was cooking. The head chef of the monastery was cooking and was teaching the tourists local recipes.
So this one, you're talking about honey, and this is Chalkidiki, which is the next finger over from Mount Athos, right?
Yes.
Okay, so honey is obviously a big part of that. Okay, this is interesting. Do you have any information about the effectiveness, visitor numbers, visitor spending, or anything that can help people to understand a little bit more about the economic impact?
I can tell you from discussion that we had last year through while an exhibition was running, that there was a big increase in arrivals, something like 20%. But what was most important than that, for the specific Mount Athos area cuisine that we're talking about, was the fact that new markets were attracted. So apart from, spending or an increase in arrivals, they did not only retain the current visitation, but they also increased in numbers and they made a good opening to new markets.
Okay. So I would imagine if this is an initiative of the hotels must have some information about how many more percent they have in visitors because of this initiative.
It's not very clear. It's not very clear, there is not specific research on this area.
Okay.
I mean, on this area regarding, so how many came because of Greek breakfast.
Okay.
We can see, we observe an increase in numbers, but we cannot be 100% sure that it's because of the Greek breakfast.
Right.
Or because of other external factors.
Well, I think it's fair enough to say that if someone's coming to Greece, most likely they will be welcome to have this kind of experience. I think this is a great initiative because when I have traveled a lot, I remember I was in Portugal a couple years ago, and the breakfast at the hotel was all, like you said, continental food. It was the same breakfast I could have in New York, Paris, Sydney, Cape Town. And it was nothing special. And I thought, wow, they're really missing the opportunity to introduce people to the Portuguese foods. And here you're doing that in Greece. I don't know of any other countries doing that. Do you?
I think, but maybe it's not, I'm not 100% accurate. I think that in Italy, they are doing something similar.
Okay.
On a different level and from a different perspective, but for sure they promote local cuisine.
Okay. All right. Nice. We were going to talk in the beginning of the show. We talked a little bit about some of the challenges that Greece is experiencing. One is obviously the economic situation, and the second one obviously is the immigrant situation. And these are things that the world media has covered, so it's no they're there. How are these affecting tourism to Greece? What's your perspective? What's your observation?
For sure, the impact is great. I mean, no one can ignore the current situation. The impact is quite big because we have immigrants almost everywhere. I mean, in key areas, like in ports, in harbors, nearby the sea, in the coastal area of Athens, in Glyfada area. We can see many immigrants. And also, we cannot disregard the fact the economic impact for the destination. It's not only for the money that we lose, but also for the money we spend in order to help these people. And also in the part of Greece, in the north side, in the north part of Greece, we have immigrants who do not allow the trains to move to Bulgaria and to other areas. So for 62 days, if I'm not mistaken, we cannot export from the north area of Greece. The trade has stopped.
So the immigrants are actually having a negative impact on the economy because of their activities.
Yes, they have, but it's, for us, for the Greeks, is something that we say, we wish we could help them more because, everyday people, on an individual basis, they give whatever they can in the shelters where immigrants are. And you know that it's not the easiest period financially for the Greeks as well.
Right.
And you can see every day, I mean, old women, kids, adults who visit these shelters and they donate whatever they can.
Yeah. It's a shame, really. Are you noticing because of the economy, are more people coming to Greece, or are the deals better from people from other countries, or are you finding that people are kind of avoiding Greece right now?
I think they avoid specific destinations, and specifically islands that, let's say, play the role of the first stop after Turkey. like Mytilene, Chios.
Some of the different island destinations?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. Well, gosh, there's no easy answer, that's for sure. It's something that all of Europe and all of the world is suffering from. But you have our support and our best wishes and our prayers for success there.
And for the people also, for the immigrants as well.
As well, indeed. Well, Magda, we're about at the end of our time today, but let's just see if we have any questions from anyone who's watching or dialed in today. If you do have any questions, all you need to do to our audience is just should be a Q&A box or panel that you can type your questions in. So go ahead, and if you have a question for Magda, go ahead and type that in there, and we will ask Magda. So we'll give people a couple of seconds here to type in a question. Yeah, I miss Greece. Gosh, when I was in Santorini, we had this dish. I don't know the name, but it was cheese, melted cheese with tomato sauce, because they're famous for their tomatoes in Santorini.
Yes.
And oregano.
Like a salad, you mean, like a starter?
No, it was well, it was like a side dish, but it was hot. And I think maybe you put it on bread. I'm not sure, but it was just gooey, and it was too tasty.
Boyardi. It's called boyardi.
Okay. Well, that sounds like Boyardi, Chef Boyardi. I don't know if you know Chef Boyardi. It's a brand here.
No. My apologies, but no, I'm not aware of that. But
I'm sorry. My Greek is so bad. I know parakalo and. Well,
okay, we can say though that still Greece is a safe destination.
Sure, yeah.
And it is ready to, welcome tourists and food tourists.
Well, Greece is a fantastic food destination. I've always had great food there. You people have some of the best hospitality in the world, the Greek people do. So I would encourage everyone to go to Greece and try the Greek breakfast. And I'm sure Magda would love to meet you if you get to Greece. But it doesn't look like we've got any questions right now, Magda. So I guess that'll do it for us today. So thank you so much for
Thank you very much.
Experience. And if anyone would like to learn more, here are the websites you can go to. This is the mountathosarea.org, and that's the English language version. And then you've got greekbreakfast.gr. And I think this is a fantastic initiative that many destinations around the world could take some inspiration from. There is one question. Sorry, it just came in. Congratulations on the Greek breakfast concept. Is there an additional cost involved? That's a very good question. So if a hotel is serving the Greek breakfast, is it costing them a lot more money to do so over ordering food from the big corporations?
Actually, no. And it's because, this was one of the factors that made it so popular. Because they do what? They use local products, so they don't need to have hotels don't need a big stock of ingredients, because they are in the local area, so it's easily for them to get it. Also, it's fresh, so they don't throw them away. And also, the local communities benefited from that. So it's only a plus and no disadvantages for this.
Fantastic, yeah. And plus these properties are smaller, so they don't have, it's not like a 300 or a 900 room hotel that's got to figure out invoicing and, cash control and stuff like that. You're talking about 20 rooms, 30 rooms, smaller properties that can easily manage that kind of purchasing.
Yes, but in some cases also medium and large hotels properties will also include that, offer this as an option.
Nice. Well, fantastic. I hope that this is inspiration for other destinations around the world. I think it is a great way to be introduced to the local culinary culture, especially if you just fly in, you go to bed and you wake up in the morning, and instead of, those gross powdered eggs and toast that people are offered, there's this fantastic buffet with, lovely cheeses and Greek honey and the olives and the bread and those little donuts. And I'm looking forward to my next trip to Greece. Thank you, Magda.
I think you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, before we get to our next guest, Armando, I would like to introduce everybody on the call today to our new business boot camp. And this is an exciting initiative that was started by our organization. We have been observing the food and beverage tourism industry for 13, 14 years. We've worked with a lot of smaller producers and providers, that very much the exact same people that Magda was talking about. They're small companies. Oftentimes it's a husband and wife or a family business, and they don't necessarily have all of the latest skills and training to take their businesses to the next level. And the same thing with the food and beverage tourism industry. We have had a certification program for years. We've graduated over 500 students over the past 8 years, and we realized there was an opportunity to really formalize this a little bit more and to provide more education around this. So we've just launched our business boot camp. We're offering 2 certificates. One is the Certificate of Business Readiness in Food and Beverage Business, and the other one is for Food and Beverage Tourism. And the whole idea about this is to provide a core curriculum and then some specialized training along with some guest speakers, real hands-on examples, and so on, tailored content for the needs of the students. And so we're piloting these classes coming up next month in June and July in Portland. June 19 to 21 is the food and beverage business, and that's for those kinds of smaller providers. It could be farms, it could be wineries, it could be people manufacturing any kind of food or beverage product. And then in July, we're doing the food and beverage tourism course. So if this is something that's of interest to you, I would encourage you to go over to worldfoodtravel.org/training and have a look there, and I'll just show you what that looks like right here. Here's the webpage. It'll tell you a little bit more about who it's for, a little bit more about what the content is involved, the pricing, and so on. And again, if you have any questions for us, go ahead and just shoot them over to help@worldfoodtravel.org. So thank you. All right, now I would like to introduce our next guest, Armando Cristofori, and he also goes by Andy. Hi, Andy.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening to you. And you're in Venice right now, is that right? Venice, Italy?
Yeah, I got back from Romania yesterday.
Nice. That is a beautiful town. And for everyone on the air today, you're going to hear Andy's got a very interesting accent, and and Andy, tell us a little bit about your background, because I think if people just heard you, they would say, "Where's this guy from?" Tell us about your multicultural background.
Okay, it's a little bit complicated. In simple terms, my mother is French Italian, my dad's Austrian Tyrolese. I was born in the north of Italy, but I was brought up in Switzerland. When I was 11, my parents moved to Australia. After that, I spent about 15 years in Asia. So I've kind of picked up a little bit of accents from all over the world. And I guess to add it to my disappointing English is that my first English teacher was American. So now it's just been a combination of bits and pieces that I've collected all over the place as I travel.
Yeah, because sometimes it sounds a little bit Italian, sometimes Australian, and then there's just a flat American English. You're a mutt, as we would say.
Yeah. I mean, some of my friends call me Tutti Frutti. So
all
flavors. I'm not even sure how I do it. I seem to automatically swap accents.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a real skill too, to be able to swap cultures and languages just on the fly like that as you move back and forth. Now, you were recently in Australia for a while, and now you're traveling in Italy and Europe, and I think you were going to meet with our ambassador in Italy as well.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit this is fascinating. I mean, when you wrote and said that you wanted to talk about this on the show today, I thought, I think that he's really identified something important, and this notion of these global city regions. I mean, look at Singapore. Singapore is both a city and a country. Or
Yes.
look at Los Angeles or Mexico City or London. I mean, these are metropolitan areas that are so large that they're their own economies. And, it can take 2 or 3 hours to get across the city. I mean, I was just in Lima, Peru last month, and I really didn't know anything about Lima, and it took sometimes 2 hours to get to a destination in one city.
No, it does. See, there's various definitions of cities. The most common and most popular ones in the 21st century are really the mega cities, which are 10 million inhabitants or more. And then you have the meta cities, which is 20 million or more. And by the year 2030, I think they're expecting that we will have up to 41 mega cities. Now, there's an issue with the mega cities and in these large conglomerates is that a lot of them are actually in developing countries or developing parts of the world, which means they don't have the infrastructure yet to service the tourists and the economies. And this is why I went for global cities, which are also known by some people as world cities. And these are cities that are the political power of countries, the national trade centers, the major banking and financial centers, the major university centers, and etc. When I was looking at it, I started to look at the differences between the rural and the urban concepts. And there seems to be a fairly strict separation between the two, the way that most people look at it. So you have urban tourism and then you have rural tourism. And I was curious about this area which sits in the middle between the actual city and the rural areas. In my assumptions, that area is roughly 50 to 70 kilometers radius around the actual city. So if you look at, for example, cities like, let's say, Mexico City, which, as you said, is a huge, huge city.
Yeah,
Mexico City is primarily urban. While if you look at something like Bangkok, which is a very large city, but the city itself is a mixture of farming, industrial, residential, commercial. So it's not unusual to turn the corner and see a rice farm in the middle of the city, just like you get in Tokyo as well.
Okay. I just wanted to draw people's attention. I've pulled up the Wikipedia page on Mega City, and you see a list here. Jakarta, 31.5 million. I mean, I was just in Jakarta a couple years ago, and yes, it is massive. But I remember, was it about 10 years ago that they were saying the biggest cities are going to be Tokyo, Sao Paulo, and Mexico City? Jakarta came out of nowhere. Seoul came out of nowhere.
That's right.
All these Chinese cities, Karachi, 24 million, who knew that?
Well, see, a lot of these cities are due to the rural migration into the cities.
Yeah.
In China, everybody's moving to the big cities. In Africa, it's the same story. In Latin America, it's the same story.
And I think that's the thing. I mean, a lot of these cities are in China, like Chengdu or Chongqing. Most people I wouldn't think even know that Chongqing exists. Kinshasa, we've heard of Kinshasa. Harbin, I've never even heard of Harbin, and it's got almost 12 million people. I mean,
No, it is, yeah. I mean, look, as you know, I'm usually in Australia, and I find it quite interesting when I look at some of these cities, because some of these cities are much bigger the population than the whole country of Australia.
It's true.
So,
getting around Jakarta, that did take, you just knew 2 hours wherever you're going, minimum time. And we had a driver, and I don't think I could have driven there. I mean, they've got, the roads are crazy, wonderful people, wonderful food, but do not want to drive in a place like. But anyway, okay, so tell us we've talked a little bit about this global city region. We've seen some of the world's biggest cities here from Wikipedia. We have this notion of mega city or mega city. Tell us a little bit how this notion of traditional food trails and the urban, suburban, rural divide, how is this all coming together, and what's the challenge for food cultures?
Well, if you look at the large mega cities, they are really the hub of multiculturalism in a lot of these countries. Whether it's multiculturalism from within the same nation, that people come from different parts of that country, the big city, bringing different regional cuisines, regional cultures, or whether it's cities like Tokyo or Singapore, which have an incredible amount of foreigners, you have a real melting pot of cultures. So there's both people there that are reminiscent of the food that their mothers used to cook and would like to see that somewhere available in a restaurant, as well as people that come from a completely different country, or people that travel to another country and come back and would like to continue to try that food. So these cities are a real melting pot. And when you bring in the surrounding area, you have that additional semi-rural component. And statistics quite clearly show that a tourist, whether it's a domestic tourist or international tourist, spends more time and is more likely to return to a rural or semi-rural area than there would be to an urban area.
Okay. Now, what is this notion of the challenge of the food trails that you were talking about?
Well, again, I've been doing a lot of research and asking a lot of people, and which is really what I would like to spend the next year doing, is actually finding out what people define as traditional, what people define as a food trail. It appears the majority of people think of food trails as being rural-based, again. And yet, like, you've been to Singapore, I think, from what you've said. If you go to Singapore, you have the China area, you have the India area, you have Arab Street. So you can actually experience, on top of Singaporean, you can actually experience Arabian-style cuisine from the traditional perspective while you're in Singapore. So for me, a food trail can exist in a global city. And if you start to incorporate museums, food art galleries, libraries, microbreweries, etc., you can actually structure a really, really interesting food trail in a global city. So it's available to the people that want to experience it, 1 hour at a time of a long period of time, as well as weekends for people that live in the city. And, as you said, if you live in something like Jakarta, if you go away for a weekend, you spend half of that actually getting to the city. Yeah,
that's true. We say sometimes in the association that in these mega cities, you can be a tourist in your own town. And, I always use LA, Mexico City, or London as an example because, you live in LA, you live, say, in Santa Monica, you're never going to go to East LA or South LA. It's just not something you would normally do unless you had a reason to. And vice versa. If you live in East LA, you're not going to go to Hollywood or other places unless you need to. But if there's a new restaurant, if there's a new market, if there's a new brewery or something that you want to go to, you're going to go. So then you become a tourist in your own town, essentially. Yes, well, especially a day tripper. If you think back to tourism definitions, you have the day tripper, you have the overnighter, then you have a weekender, and then you have the long-term tourist, which can be domestic or international. But the way I'm looking at it is a city, say like Los Angeles, you would have a lot of expats that live there. So those expats are tourists by definition, but they are living in the city for an extended period of time, and they are more likely to be day trippers than long-term travelers, in the city. So you are satisfying the population of the city as well as the visitors. So tell me, I've never heard of this before, but I wonder if there's anyone who travels in their own city and then gets a hotel because they don't want to drive back. It does happen. Okay. As I think I used to work with the Prime Minister of Thailand, and in cities like Bangkok, it does happen.
less likely now because of the infrastructure is much better. But 25 years ago, when I used to work there, it was a common thing that you would go somewhere, you would have meetings, go out for dinner, and actually stay there because it was simply quicker than having to drive back to your own home.
How odd.
Well, think of the size of it.
Yeah.
We're talking about cities that are, 70, 100 kilometers in radius. From one side to the other, we're talking about 200 kilometers. It's not exactly a nice little drive.
No, and I guess by the definition, isn't the definition of a tourist someone who travels more than 80 kilometers? There's different definitions. Usually a tourist is defined as someone that spends an overnight in a different destination. Right. The reason for that is distance is very cultural. So in places like, say, the USA or Australia, which are such big countries, 80 kilometers is very little. Here in Italy, where I am now, 80 kilometers, they basically use their passport because they think it's such a big distance. Yeah. Where I come from in Australia, the nearest city to me is 76 kilometers. And I just go there for breakfast. So it's, different mentality. So usually an overnighter is classified as a tourist. And someone who does overnight is usually classified as a day tripper. Right. All right. So tell us a little bit more about the research that you're doing and what your timeline is, what you hope to gain from this, and maybe a little bit about how people can get involved. Okay. I started to, talk about this when I was originally the marketing manager of Thomas Cook in Australia I started in 1985. And the reason I picked it up is I kept looking at the little cards, which were like little questionnaires that tourists used to send back. And I noticed that food was always a major interest. Regretfully, back then, everybody thought I was crazy. So about 10 years later, I was the marketing director for the Tourism Authority of Thailand. And we started to launch programs which were primarily cooking programs. So people would go to Thailand, spend 2 or 3 days learning to cook. They would visit markets, visit fisheries, and etc. And that, pricked my attention a little bit more, and I became more interested in it. Gradually, I became more and more focused on the idea of the traditional food. And I really started to look around probably 2 years ago on what could be done, what could be achieved. And about 9 months ago, I bumped into a professor of a university who appeared to be very excited about what I wanted to research on my own. So I've associated now the research to a professional, it's on screen, to a professional doctorate. Now, insofar as timing, I don't want to rush it in any form or shape for 2 reasons. One is I get to drink and eat over time. So I don't see the point in rushing that one. That's a great reason right there. Well, yeah, that's what I thought. The other one is I'm not interested in doing this only from an academic perspective. I have no interest in coming up with, a brilliant thesis, which then sits in a library forever. I really want to research it hands-on. I want to talk to people face-to-face. I want to come up with something which is really usable by the industry at the end. So I've really decided that I'm probably going to spend the next 6 odd years traveling the world, meeting people, and finding out about how things can actually work. Okay. How to make it all work. Really, when you're thinking about it, we looked at that list of mega cities, and we're looking at, this is fascinating. You're watching culture evolve right in front of you. And, you talked about how distance is cultural. I hadn't thought of that before. You're absolutely correct. And I could easily see how this could take, several years, if not a lifetime, really, to devote to this cause. If someone wanted to learn more or maybe support your work or, even participate, if they live in one of these megacities and they wanted to give you some insight, should they get in touch with you by LinkedIn or your Facebook page?
Yeah, look, I think at the moment, because unfortunately I've been working on my website for about a year, and it's still definitely work in progress. Yeah, it's a choice. Website on one side, a nice dish on the other side. And unfortunately, a nice dish takes priority.
Of course, always.
The best way will be Facebook or LinkedIn, because I do want to get opinions from as many people as possible. Little things like, what do they define as traditional? Even that, when you do literature research, and I've been doing some for the last couple of months.
Yeah.
I think I found something like 200 references, and they all conflict with each other.
Okay.
So I'm even wondering whether it's just one definition.
Interesting.
Or whether even that's cultural.
Well, we've put your Facebook page up here, so it's andy.armando, and you can become friends or message Andy here. Also, here's his, it's probably easiest if you're going to LinkedIn just to put in his name, and he's located here in Queensland, Australia. His LinkedIn profile is a bit long, but if you just type in Armando Cristofori, like here, and ask to get connected to him, that would be a great way, wouldn't it, Andy?
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I really would appreciate as many connections, as much input as possible. I really am trying to avoid putting my take on anything. Yeah. I really want people to tell me what they think.
Oh, that's the way you do research. You gotta have consensus, and yeah.
Yes, and as soon as my website is available, I will definitely send everybody a link. And I'm designing a questionnaire at the moment, a short one.
Very good.
Questions.
Well, if anyone wants to support Andy's research or learn a little bit more, I invite you to get in touch with him. I'd like to open it up for questions now. And while we're waiting for some questions, I would like to tell people about our Food Travel Monitor, which is it's our latest research effort. It's the 2016 Food Travel Monitor. And you look here, these are the destinations that we're including in this first year of this groundbreaking research. What we've done is really take past research that we've done and kind of put it on steroids. And we're looking at these 11 destinations. We just added Italy as well. And we're looking at both inbound and outbound food traveler data, and then also our psychoculinary profiling for laser sharp targeting. And what that is it explains why a friend of yours went to an Italian restaurant down the street and said, it was the best restaurant, you have to go, and then you go and you hated it. Well, that's the difference there, is you have different psychoculinary profiles. So we talk a lot about that as well in there. And that will be out by June 10. So we know that is the for sure release date now. So if that's something that is of interest to people, go ahead and go to worldfoodtravel.org/research. You'll see here are the options available for the different reports, and that will be can be in your hands as early as June the 10th. Fantastic study there. Now let's go back and see if we have any questions for Andy. Let's see here. Not quite yet. All right. Well, maybe people... Oh, wait. Hold on. Wait. There's a question just in. How fascinating. This sounds like a long-range product or course of research that a university could get involved in. Are there any under consideration for cooperation?
The short answer is no at the moment.
Okay.
I certainly would be completely open to talking to universities, definitely.
That's a really good idea. I'm thinking about all the different universities out there. There's quite a few universities that are involved in food culture, food studies, cultural anthropology, food tourism as well. You haven't contacted any of these yet?
No, I haven't. I have a basic list. I'll be honest, one thing that has popped up quite a little bit is I have a slight concern with some of the published professors. Some appear to perhaps not be as, open to possibilities, not perhaps as up to date, some of the things that I have, and I really am trying to find from the industry what really works. But yeah, it's a combination. I'm just trying to work it out myself.
Yeah, it does happen sometimes in academia. Yeah, like you said, I think the key is to finding those right departments or professors that understand your bigger vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've tried a couple of universities actually here in Italy. One specifically I was really interested in because it's associated with the slow food movement.
Yes.
But I haven't been able to actually connect with the right person.
Well, that makes two of us. I've reached out to them for years, and I think my email just goes into that bucket somewhere, and then they empty the bucket every so often. I don't know.
What kills me is I wrote to them in English and after in Italian, and I thought, they'll answer, but no.
No, don't take it personally. It happens to a lot of people, and not just them, other universities too. It happens.
No, but I'd love to connect with them. I really would. It would be great.
Well, if they're not the right one, there's plenty of others as well. So this is fantastic. I'm really excited about your research. And also, I don't know if anyone knows this, but Andy is an ambassador at large for our association. So based in, Australia, Italy, and what was the other place? Costa Rica?
Oh, it was in Costa Rica a few months ago. In
Yeah.
Honduras.
So Andy is a bon vivant traveling around the world and waving the World Food Travel Association flag. And you were also just in Romania too, I believe.
Yeah, I just got back. Got back yesterday evening.
Fantastic. Well, we need more people like you waving the association flag. So thank you for that.
So, not a problem. I just can't stay still.
I know that, believe me. Well, thank you again, Andy. Fantastic stuff. And reminder that next month's show is on Wednesday, June the 22nd. It'll be exactly at the same time. You'll find the registration link on our website and also published in our newsletter. So I'd like to thank Andy again and Magda, our guest today. Thank you all for tuning in to Food Travel Talk TV, May 2016, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.